Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you on the Parentune Live. My name is Nidhi and I'm excited to host this session for you today. Joining us today to answer all your queries on stubbornness and backtalking, I have with me our child behavioral psychologist, Kiran. A very warm welcome to you, Kiran. So happy to have you.
Thanks, Nidhi. Pleasure is mine too. Thank you.
To all our parents, you can send in your questions in either English or Hindi on the Parentune app, Parentune Live, or on our social handles, and we'll be happy to take them. So, Kiran, could you start off by actually telling us what are the reasons behind kids and children being stubborn and backtalking?
Okay. So we want to start with the why part of it, Nidhi. Um, Now, based on different age, okay, the reasons can be different. Like, for example, if it is a 2.5, 3-year-old child, and as a parent, you want to help the child to put on the shoes, or you want to choose the socks, and child says no, right? Pushes back, or you say maybe a 7 years old or 8 year old child, you say, okay, brush your teeth before having breakfast, and the child says no, right? And why should I? Child goes into the why part as intellectual and cognitive um, and the critical thinking of the child increases. So the child wants to know the why behind the instructions being given, and sometimes child uses the why as a pushing back and as a way to showcase that I don't want to do it. So there is also another element here, Nidhi, about autonomy. As the child grows up, the child wants to extend his or her own sphere of control and autonomy. So there is this is another reason where parents may experience that the child is pushing back. So critical thinking, where the child wants to show their own sense of control. Maybe the child is carrying the baggage of some other conflict or something which was building up and it is coming out on the instruction when the parent is giving. So all this or some other stress which the child is undergoing. So all this can be the reason why what seemingly what can seem as the child is not listening to me or is back talking to me. So yeah, it's pretty much.
Thank you so much. Shirley has two kids, 3 years and 5 years, and her question is: post lockdown, my boys, 3 years and 5 years old, have become more stubborn and adamant. They get angry when I scold them for their mistakes. Screen time has also increased. What should she do? Can you please help her?
Right. So, Shirley, first, probably you want to see that what are the areas where the child is showing the stubbornness. Is there a pattern which is coming off? Is it like towards the evening side where the child is showing it more, or is it towards the morning side when you're getting it up, the morning rituals where the child is having more pushback? Is it sitting for the online classes? Is it for the homework, or is it even like two children? So is it because of the sibling fights that they have at that time, the parent is intervening and the children are showing adamancy? So what are those, if you can think of um, you know making enlisting, what are the areas where the children are showing? And also I would suggest, Shirley, that if for 3-year old you see it a little differently, and for 5-year old you see a little differently. It can also be a case where the children could be could be crossing their sense of ownership across each other. Like 5-year old is doing some drawing and the 3-year old is going and maybe putting some crayons on it, and the 5-year old is getting very very angry about it, or the 5-year old is snatching ball from the 3-year old. So we got to see what are those areas, and accordingly some steps can be taken. Now, as far as screen time is concerned, yes, it has been seen that this has increased, especially during this time. So, and then children, because they don't have very clear sense of timing, so often they end up pushing the deadlines like 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, and it just seems that their appetite is just not getting satiated. So my suggestion would be that wherever possible, if you can have some kind of rules which are predictable in nature, which are consistent in nature, that can really help the child. The more the child sees, especially in this age, the more the child sees that the moment the child push the limit, right, 5 more minutes, and you, as a parent, you let it have at that time. The next time when you are more, when you are fresh, or maybe you just want to have a cutoff, and you say no, no, 5 minutes, then you may notice that the conflicts can be more. So just if you can be consistent that dear, it was 1 hour, so it is over, you got to close it. So if you can just make it predictable where the child knows, okay, 10 o'clock, it's lights off, it's a sleeping time. So if you can make it a little consistent, if the need be, you can give a child an advance notification, like in 10 minutes the lights will be off, instead of coming at the deadline. So just see if you can, for this young age, if you can bring some kind of predictability in their routine. I do understand that there are certain aspects of the routine which has got broken down, but wherever possible, if you can keep some high level routine and help the child to stick to it, it's going to be easier for the children to accept it. So I really hope, Shirley, this helps your children.
Yes, I hope you got your answer. And surely, if you have any further questions, please feel free to write them and we will take them as well. So, also, Kiran, could you tell us why doesn't a child listen to instructions in a positive way and indulge into misbehaving and back talking?
Yeah, Nidhi, I think this is a very, very nice question. That why is it that you are, as a parent, giving instruction to the child which are good for the child, and the child is not responding to that, or rather is back answering, or asking back, why should I do it, or I will not do it, right? So right from, if you say, okay, it's a food time, and the child says, I don't want to eat. Okay, so sometimes as a parent, it may just seem that why is the child behaving like that? So, if as a parent, right, we can, one of the reasons could be the tone, right? Sometimes children do react, and oftentimes they do react to the tone in which we give the instructions. Sometimes when we are talking to a child, our tone is at a particular, say, X level, and when we are giving instruction to the child, either it could be accusatory in nature, like, oh, you have been sitting in mobile for the last 1 hour, so now you must stop it, right? So, which could be designated or designed to bring some kind of shame in the child, or blame the child, or put the child in a spot. So, or if they could be fear inducing, like, if you're not attending your school, I'm going to stop your schools, or you go and work in the warehouse, I will send you to the cobbler, or you will end up working like a house help. So if you can be a little more self-aware in terms of what is the words that we are speaking, what is the tone in which we are speaking, what is the volume. Sometimes, Nidhi, as a parent, we think that if we raise our voice, it's going to can work better in terms of the child knowing that I really mean it this time. On the contrary, I would always suggest that you can actually try tone which is lower than your usual volume. Also, Nidhi, sometimes the child is so engrossed with that activity, be it playing with Legos, be it watching something, be it playing with the friend, that the child actually didn't listen to the instructions. So also ensuring, instead of letting it work upon yourself, also ensuring that did the child really have your attention before you gave the instruction. So taking the name of the child and waiting for the acknowledgement, or going closer to the child, that dear, I'm waiting for your, I really want to tell you something. So can I, could we have eye to eye first? So getting the attention of the child so that there's a momentum or breakage in the attention, these things can really help you. Yeah, I really hope, Nidhi, that answers the question.
Yes, absolutely. Gives a lot of clarity now. So Arushi, who has a 4-year-old son, says nowadays his her son has become highly stubborn and sensitive. So how can she handle this?
Right. Arushi, I would be want to know more about the sensitive part of it. Um, is it some particular, lines? Uh, which is actually where the child is showing more sensitivity. Maybe it could be crying. Some children actually develop a little scare. They are at 4 year old. They are subjected to a few scary videos also, so they can develop that I don't want to go alone in the dark and all. So we got to see define more what exactly is sensitivity means here. For your child, I would suggest, Arushi, that if you can, see what are the areas, and after giving instruction to the child, also offer help. For younger children, giving some options, two options rather, one which is in the hand of the child. That, for example, if you say that, okay, we have to eat this vegetable. Now, 4 year child oftentimes say, I don't like it. So, as a parent, if you do not let the no which is coming from the child trigger you into raising your voice, see, we have to understand one thing, Arushi, that every time we raise our voice, yell, shout, make our body larger, that's generally evolutionary way in which we express displeasures and high emotions. So every time we do that, we trigger the fight or flight or whatever defenses that the child has built in, we trigger those emotions in the child. And children, being young, of course, and their biological way, biological growth of self regulation and self control is still in progress. So, the moment they get triggered, it is very difficult to reach to the reasoning sense of the child. No wonder at 4 year old, you may often notice that the child is completely in rage, all angry, but the eyes are all red and tears are. So it's all a mixture of sadness as well as anger, which streams out because the child is completely doesn't know what to do now. You cannot touch upon the reasoning till the time you supported the child through the melt, what is generally called as meltdown, right? So my suggestion would be that offer options to the child. One which is in the hand of the child. That okay, here this is the vegetable, for example, bottle gourd, yummy bottle gourd that you've got. You want to have it yourself, or I can help you to make it more interesting. So if you can work with the child, maybe add some mayo to it, add some curd to it, or sprinkle some cheese on it, whatever it is. So one option you can leave it to the child. One option you can offer help. At this age, it is very important wherever the child is looking for a connect, where you are helping the child as well. So I really hope all these small little, tips that I have shared with you for a 4 year old child, giving options, offering help, um, uh, keeping an eye on your how you are taking the no from the child. You may be surprised, Arushi, that the moment the child said no, and you say, "Oh, but it is lunch time, right? We all are having it together. So shall I will lift you, and we'll go to the washroom to wash our hands." And you may actually notice that the child will be quite participative about it, and you may be surprised to see that why did the child said no in the first place. So just don't let the no of the child, treat the no as the child is having difficulty, and child wants to continue with the activity that the child is doing, and then help the child to transition. For younger children, one last thing, Arushi, transitions are equally difficult. So if you help the child in a manner that, all right, you are playing with the Legos, so how about I can allow you to carry 5 pieces of the Legos to the table. So you can continue a part of it on the table, it's a lunchtime. So wherever possible, if you can kind of work a win-win situation with some structure where you say a yes, but a conditional yes, that can also help young children beautifully. So I really hope, Arushi, this helps you and your child.
Yes, and Arushi, you can always write back to us, and if you have any questions, any further questions, we'll take them. So, could you also talk and shed some light upon how to deal with tantrums that your child is throwing?
Right. So we will target here the younger age of the children. So often the tantrums that we see from children where they've completely gone into rage and is different children show differently. Some children are completely passive, they sulk, I don't want to have food. Some children are more aggressive, they will pick up a thing, throw at others, or will bite based on the age of the child, also tear their clothes. Different children show it differently. So I would suggest that at that time, avoid giving, too many instructions at the time. A parent's voice, in any case, can be highly stimulating for the child. So use it on the contrary to support the child and to soothe the child and make it easier for the child to go through the tantrum is like this. It goes up, 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 and then it comes down. So help the child to handle it. Uh, Avoid getting so worked up that you are offering distractions to the child, or you are actually giving in for which the child was actually crying for. For example, if you said that there is no TV or no mobile with the food and the child is completely enraged, and you actually say, all right, this food we can have it with mobile. This confuses the child. The child cannot answer the next time when you say no. Why was I allowed the last time? And this also works in behavioral conditioning, where the child understands that, all right, when I do this to this extent, I can get it. It builds a maladapted way of getting things. So if it's a no, uh, for example, the child was throwing a mobile of a parent and you just took it away and put it somewhere else. So if it's a no, my suggestion would be please keep it as a no, but help the child to handle those emotions of no. Don't be in a hurry. The moment we are in a hurry, Nidhi, the challenge is we indirectly tell the child it is wrong to feel like this, right? In our life, we are all going to go through, are all going to experience situations of no. Right now, when the children are young, the stakes are less. So it's easier to help them to handle those no's. If we keep working towards with the aim that I always have to keep my child happy, right? I can afford it, so let me give it to my child. We actually set a very wrong precedent for the child, because as the child grows up, the stakes are going to be high, and the situations of no's are going to be many more. The choice of college, the choice of job, the choice of partner, there are going to be no's. So please do not get into that pressure that I have to make my child happy. No, you just have to keep your child safe. That is the aim. So if you can, again, self awareness is very important. If you can keep an eye on yourself, because you could also be getting triggered. It's very difficult to see your own child in rage. And also, if you notice it's happening in mall, the child was crying to buy something. I mean, you do know that the mall people, it's a strategy, right? They keep all the interesting stuff around the billing counters, makes it all the more difficult for the parents. So if you notice a child is completely sprawled on the floor and you parenting in public, right? You find it really difficult. Just pick up your child. Maybe the other adult can continue. You pick up your child and you go to the nearest corner wherever you are comfortable, maybe a bench, maybe your car, and then help your child. Because if you are getting triggered with all the eyes boring in you, uh, you may not be in a best position to help your child. Your child needs calmness from you, because the child is completely shaky. If you are shaky, child will not get the calmness that he or she is looking for. So self-aware, helping the child, not trying too hard to take the child out of it by conveying that it's wrong to be in this state, will help your child to always stay connected with you through those high emotions. So as the child grows, the child will be connected to you, and you would keep touching upon the reasoning aspect of the child. So yeah, that's about it, maybe about it. Thank you.
Absolutely, it's indeed a very important thing to stay connected, like you beautifully mentioned. So we are joined by a Parentune expert, child behavioral specialist Kiran Tevtiya, who is taking us through how to tackle stubbornness and backtalking in this Parentune life. Please ask your questions, and we shall take them up. We have a question from Anupam Gupta, who has a 10-year-old child. He's written that just if a 10-year-old child just doesn't want to listen to his parents, no matter how polite we are, answers back to everything we say to him, just doesn't want to study and attends online classes with games on the other tabs, and doesn't want to switch on the camera, keeps saying bad things about teachers. We have tried everything except for giving punishment and being harsh. It has been a recent change, and he is used to being a topper. and quite serious about his studies before the lockdown. What could be the reason for this drastic change in him, and what can be done to change this behavior that has come along?
Right. Anupam, firstly, I thanks for sharing your concern in such a detailed manner. And trust me, this is for a 10-year-old. This is a challenge which is being faced by many parents during this time. So uh, I have a 10-year-old child as well. So we are all in it together. So I think academics is a new topic which has come up in this session. So I'll start from there in your in the concern that you shared. Um, the tricky part for primary section children is that the inherent motivation that was there, which was keeping the child glued to the academics in the traditional physical setup of schooling, right? Where there was a community where the child was getting connected to in a physical form, that is missing in the online form of schooling. So it is really tough for a child, young child, to expect to be completely self-driven, right? Because just imagine in a traditional setup when the teacher asks a question and the child has done a hands up, and even if the teacher did not call out the name of the child, but just because the teacher looked at the child, did a thumbs up, or just looked appreciatively at the child like this, the child feels that wow, I have been attended to, vis-a-vis in an online mode where we are all in the boxes, and if the teacher did not ask, the child feels as if I was not attended to. Another thing, if these children in any of the classes are not supposed to keep looking at the blackboard like this. I mean, right now when they're at home, that is as a parent our expectation. Why you're not looking at the screen? Okay, why are you looking here and there? Why do you have a toy in your hand? Why are you doing your cube thing? Why are you doodling? Right? But if you look at it, if you go to a typical classroom, fourth or fifth standard, right, 10-year-old, if you look at typical classroom, children sometimes are yawning, they are looking outside on the window, sometimes they are winking at their friend, putting in their shared notebook, writing notes to each other. They're all part and parcel of learning. Yeah, and sometimes the teacher comes closer to the child when notices that the child is distracted, puts a hand on the child's shoulder and continues. Suddenly the child is again glued to the classroom, or the teacher asks the child to come in the front desk. So we got to understand that there are genuine challenges in the academics. That is first from the child's point of view, because empathy is very important, Anupam, before we actually think about the solutions. The second challenge which has happened in this setup is that the same set of adults, right? The parents already had X amount of responsibilities before. It hasn't reduced. But with online schooling, the additional responsibility of ensuring that the child is sitting for 3-4 hours, that's the minimum that I'm saying, is sitting for 3-4 hours in the online classroom and is attentive and has a notebook and is writing down from the blackboard shown. It has actually added on to the responsibilities of the parents. And what doesn't make it easy is being able to view other children who are answering, and then we notice, oh, why my child is not answering. So the comparison has also put additional pressure on the parents. So we could understand in the morning when you push the child to get ready, get up, and then throughout the classroom also you're pushing the child, it is actually a breeding ground for a conflict and disconnect between the parent and the children. Vis-a-vis the traditional where the hand holding was there, the parent would have given the child to the schooling, they take care of it, parents got their downtime, uh, got refreshed, the child comes back in the evening and the connect is again established. So you can understand. The second thing is about the pressure. So keeping these two in mind, your child could genuinely be having a challenge out there if you notice. So having some small rules can do can do a great help. Sometimes children of this age also understand it is important for my parents, for me to attend the online classroom. It is more important for the parents than me. So then they start saying that if you do not allow me to watch YouTube, if you do not allow me to play on the games, then I would not attend the online classroom. So if you can kind of convey to your child that your expectations, right? That we expect you to attend the online classrooms, and we expect you, if you put your if you put your expectation. However, you also put your expectation that when it's a classroom going on, we cannot be opening the other tabs. Okay, so as long as the child is not opening the other tabs but is doodling in the notebook, is not writing, I would not suggest at this age to do the micro management. I would not suggest that if you're because it's going to increase your conflict with the child, and you have the whole day with the child. You also deserve a little break. Okay, so if you put some small structures of rule during online classroom, that you cannot open some other tab of entertainment during the class, only if the whole class is finished. If your class is not going on, you close the tab or close the laptop and you take a break, right? The way it happens in traditional schools, right? But at 3 o'clock, when your class is done, after that you can have a schedule of video games, or whatever is the routine of the child. So, and in case if you find, firstly, telling is the rule. Now, 10-year-old children are not very good, even any age, right? You just put a rule, and we can't assume that the child has to follow it. I mean, if even if you have to see Anupam in the real life, in the adults, the moment somebody puts a new rule, everybody should start using masks. We don't start following it from the second day itself, right? Everybody should get vaccine. We don't start following it from the next day. We kind of let it grow. We start seeing what are the pros and cons, what is in my best interest, and then what is other people expecting me to do. And then we start following it. But if we put experts saying against it, then the child also has a right to process it. So if you can, the moment you notice, you can have a consequences. If I notice that you are in the tab, we will close it for the day. You do your self-study. So that is the way you can actually put it. So if you notice, you don't have to actually keep around the child all the time. But if you notice tab, you can just say, okay, all right, dear, your time for the school is over. You can do your self-study for today. First time the child wouldn't see that you are taking it, you are really serious about it. But then slowly, if you actually put these expectations in place, the chances are high that the child is going to take it seriously. And just imagine, Anupam, even if the child is not attending online classes, but is doing self-study and giving the exams, it's all right, right? I mean, if the stake is your connect with the child, your increased conflict with the child, if that is at stake, wouldn't you want to work more on your connect and self-drive of the child? So just think about it. Sometimes we take it as a sacrosanct that I have to ensure my child attends the online classes and it does it with full concentration. You can't get into the mind of the child with full concentration, but you can definitely put it as an aim that we have to finish all the assignments. You show it to me once you're submitted. You can definitely put those kind of things, because those, the child has the bandwidth to finish it throughout the day. So I really hope, as far as academics, Anupam, we are working towards setting the right expectations for the children. Your child will learn even if the child is self-drivenly doing a self-study. But your expectation that, dear, this is what I expect from you. Do not, you can lower your expectation a bit, but do not reduce or do away with your expectations. Sometimes our labels, Anupam, like, oh, you are a lazy child, you can't do it, you know, this also becomes self narration of the child. And when you ask it, the child starts saying that maza nahi aa raha hai, I don't like it. If you start asking the child why you are going for the entertainment when it is your school time, right? And you start asking those whys, the child will say all sorts of whys. So please do not concentrate so much on the whys part. Just put some expectations which are appropriate for the child, age appropriate for the child, and wait. Give the child some room to do that critical thinking, that what is in my best interest. And in the meanwhile, keep the other routine going on. Other routine is the playtime for the child. We should never rob the child away from that social aspect of the playtime, whether in the lockdown, whether somebody else is coming at home or the child is maybe within the safe area for an hour or two, going out to play, whatever is the routine of the child. The play should be there because that is the one which keeps the child energized. And when the child comes back home, is like, okay, fine, now I will do my mathematics assignment, right? Do not hold on the food of the child. Do not hold on the sleep of the child and your love. These are the four things which we should never touch upon, no matter what, whether the child is, because these four things are the ones which will act like a glue and which will increase your connect, and the chances will increase that the child will be able to take decisions in his or her own best interest. Decision making, Anupam, is another thing which the children beautifully learn right from 8 years to 12, 13, 14 years, right? So let the child practice. The stakes are less at this time, but when the child will learn it, never ever make it as incentive driven, that you know what, if you finish your online classes today, mama will cook something good for you. These expectations again take away the inherent incentive that the child should be having towards doing basic things, that is study, play, social, sleep, eat. For these things, we should not be having incentive. These things themselves should have inherent motivation. So I really hope, Anupam, this helps you to connect with your 10-year-old child much healthier and better way.
Thank you so much, Kiran. Pranita, who has a 6-year-old daughter, says that my 6-year-old daughter does not want to listen to us at all. She gets quite adamant and does not eat food, goes to her room and does not talk until her demands has been met with. It's my way or the highway strategy that she works on. She has been a pampered child since childhood. She is the only girl in our joint family and she has been taking advantage of that. Please suggest ways to deal with her and when she is in the mood to not listen to us at all.
Okay, Nidhi, did we say 5-year-old child?
6 years.
6 years old. Okay. Okay. Could you repeat this in a very short form? What were the challenges? Because in between the
Yes.
voice was cracking a bit. Thank you.
Sure. So the child is extremely adamant and it's her
Mhm.
way or the highway. So, how can the parent
Mhm.
basically tackle this issue?
All right. And the name of the parent is Savita?
Pernita.
Parnita. Okay. All right. Parnita, you also talked about the only girl child in the family. So, I'm assuming that probably it's a joint family kind of system, or maybe there are grandparents and other family members also in the house. Now, this different parenting style, okay, and different yes and no's from adults is another area where it brings inconsistency um, in the yes and no's in the child. So, firstly, Parnita, don't be disheartened and thinking that okay, fine, my child was a pampered one, and so this is what she has become and all. Because 6 years old children, they are highly adaptable, and guilt that comes out of past is never going to help the child, is not going to help the parent, right? You may unnecessarily actually be more harsher on your child, assuming that now I have to take it in my reins. Okay? But yes, truly believe that parents have the most amount of influence on the children. Even if the rule is that you should be having toffees or chocolates after the food, and the grandparent or somebody else in the family secretively gives chocolate to the child before the food, it's all right. So the child still knows that my mother or my father expects me to have food before the chocolate. So I just giving you an example. So it is uh, on the contrary. Sometimes what I have noticed in the cases that come to me is that as a parent, sometimes we feel so strongly about, oh my God, my child broke the rule, and some other adult help the child to break the rule, that we actually over the child starts talking to the other adult, whether it could be between the spouses or between the other family members, intrafamilial, that we start talking about it and the child is right there, right? So it's not important, and your child is 6 years old, so you can actually directly, whether it is house help also, right, that has broken the rules, so you can directly talk to your child, uh, herself, that you know what, you knew that you're not supposed to have chocolate before food. Now let's finish the food, so let it go away. You put it on, put the onus on the child. That way you also show the trust, you show a parental trust, that I have confidence that you are capable of understanding and following this rule. Every time you displace it and put it on somebody else, then the child starts thinking that, starts using the displacement as well. So next time, if suppose you gave some rule to the child that you should not be buying this toy, and the father gives, so the child will say, oh, but papa gave me or mama gave me, right? So the child uh, puts across a face of being the scapegoat. So it's always good. Oh, but you knew you should not be having it. So put the onus on the child in a dramatic manner. Again, keep an eye on the tone. The beauty about younger ages, if you can, whatever instructions you have to give, if you are able to bring a smile on your face at the time, right, and if you are able to keep the humor in the situation, right, that really helps the children, in terms of not triggering their defenses, and in terms of only handling their own emotions. The child doesn't have to handle your emotional baggage. So and this also tells the child that it is not a danger situation for me. So if you can, whatever you have to tell to the child, whatever instruction you have to give to the child, if you can be softer and with a smile, and if the child says, no, I don't want to, oh, you don't want to do it, so what is it that you want to do it? Oh, I want to keep playing with it. Yeah, I know, but you know what, your body needs to become strong. Show me your hand. Oh yeah, we need to build muscles. So now let's do one thing. You can put your feet on mama's feet and we'll go left, right, left, right, left, right. Children, young children learn beautifully through play. No wonder they want to keep playing throughout the day, right? So that's what I a lot of time advise parents in academics for young children also, that you do not have to give the knowledge the way we see the teachers giving to the children. It's one to many there. Here you have the beauty of one to one. So even if the child is not writing, this is a cat 20 times in that 4-line notebook, but if the child is writing, this is a cat on the floor with crayons or on the blackboard with chalk, it should be okay. You can always think about the play. Or if you write this and the child writes is, then you write a and the child writes cat. So, interactive and play. Child is going to, young children learn as much from doing as they learn from observing others. I mean, if you have to see a beautiful example, Farnita, you will notice the way that when the child gets a phone, how the child, even if the phone is not working, puts it on the ears, and actually in the eyes of the child, there is a lost look. The way the adults give that lost look. And they're standing, and the whole mannerism will be as if the child is right on the phone. So children learn from observing. We oftentimes underestimate the power of observing. So even if you have to do some drawing, get the child to do some homework, if you can do it in an interactive and playful mode, as compared to, okay, so now I'm going to judge if whatever you're going to color, it has to be within the boundary itself. It should not, oh, you did a mistake, now erase it, right? If you're so driven by, let my child not do any mistakes, the child is going to start seeing those movements as the tense moments, right? And then the child would start thinking, instead of seeing that, okay, this is the anxiety of my parent that is bothering me, the child will start thinking, I don't like this activity. So even 6 years old, 7-year-old child, Niti, I see saying, I hate studies. I mean, it's such a wonderful thing, opening up newer and newer world to the children. They're always so curious. There was a child yesterday, right, where I got a child 7 years old, and the moment I open the value education, child says, I'm not good in value education. And when I tell the child, okay, what happened in the story? Can you tell me? The child is able to tell me the whole story, exactly how it is written. Every question that I ask him, he's able to answer. So where is the child getting this line from? That I don't like it. So we got to be a little more careful about, is it our unsaid anxieties that is letting the child work out like that, and see how we can kind of tone it down, bring the play in the picture, bring a smile in the picture, create a drama, and see if we can bring the nose down. For example, if the child is playing with soft toys and it's a food time, so if you can, child says, okay, I will take the teddy bear also on the table. You can just see before you actually want to say a no. If you can see why I want to say a no to the child, for young children especially, because a lot of time you may start noticing it. How many times are you saying a no, and how many times are you saying a yes? So if your worry is that the toy on the table will get some spots, you tell the child the problem, that you know what, I have a problem. The moment you say I have a problem, children are more open to it. A few days back, I was with a group of 6 7 children, right? And when I went, they started telling all these stories. I said, I've not even told you my problem. Shall I tell you my problem? It was about some conflict, right? So the moment you say my problem, children, yeah, yeah, they always want to help, right? So I have a problem that if you take this teddy bear, there'll be spots. So if the child says, okay, I will wash it. So just imagine how the child wants to take the responsibility. So if you can work with the child, observe your nose. Is it really required? Put some conditions, how the no can be converted to yes. For example, if a 6 year old child is throwing ball in the living room, right? Now you are worried about the TV, say, for example, or maybe the grandmother doing puja. So you're worried that the ball will go there. So sometimes suddenly we say, no, don't play with the ball. Now the thing is, generally, Pranitha, right? Young children know what sensory inputs they need at the time. The child really needs to move. So if you can understand the intentions of the child and then redirect that, all right, you know what, dear? We have a TV here, or we have a grandmother doing a puja. So let's take this ball in the, whatever the other room is there, or in the corridor just outside the door. Let's take there and we'll play there. I'll help you. So you take the ball, you play for, on the ball 3 4 times, you show. As I say, no, right? Then why no? Then what can be an alternative? Yes. And then you show the yes. Chances are very high that the child who really wanted to do that thing actually is more open to accept your no, because you understood the intention of the child and did not just stop at the no. So I really hope, Anita, this helps you to, you know, keep the enjoyment and love that entails when bringing up young children. So you are truly able to enjoy your parenting. I really hope.
Thank you so much, Kiran. So, Shri, a mom of two children, writes, my daughter is 3 years old and she becomes very aggressive when she does not get her things immediately. The elder sibling, who is 6 years old, is always triggering her. 3 years old always ends up shouting and hitting and crying. How can I make her understand?
Right. Yeah. So, Shri, I have noticed that sometimes, especially older siblings, have a certain sense of ownership on the younger sibling. Right. They start extending the younger sibling from, you see the teddy bear behind. So they have been playing with the teddy bear, and they start saying, "Wow, now I have a real teddy bear, real, little baby." So they say, "Mama, put her or him in my lap." So the older sibling sees you taking the child around in the house. I will also do it. So they want to. Then the child is bringing the toys too fast. The younger child is playing with some toy. The older child is snatching it from the hand. So that sense of boundaries. It is a good idea between two siblings if we can have a sense of boundaries between the two children and a sense of ownership. Sometimes it is also a possibility that there could be an expectation from a 6 year old child to share the things. Sometimes we say, as a parent, we take a call that, this toy is, you have grown out of it. So you should give it to your younger sibling, or I will give it to your younger sibling. Right? It touches upon the sense of ownership of the older child, and then the chances are high that somewhere, without understanding or without being conscious about it, the child may develop a rivalry. Sibling rivalry is a oft heard word, but a sense of somewhere a conflict situation where the child may, what may seem like is the child is triggering the younger one. So when you are not watching, the child may snatch the toy away from the younger one. So I would always suggest we got to, whether it is 6 years old, whether it is 3 year old, we should respect the sense of ownership. So there should always be toys which belong only to the 3 year old, and the toys which belong to 6 years old. And if you can have a the rule like we ask the, and some common toys, so if we can have some rules like where everybody feels safe, right? Both the children needs to feel safe. Sometimes when it is an older child, a pseudo parenting comes into picture, where we start telling the older child that, okay, take care of your younger sibling when the child goes down. Now it gives, with the ownership comes an authority. So the child starts, crossing the boundary of the child, will hold the hand of the child, pull, push, and all those things. So I would really request, both the children are young, if you can keep them separate. If even if the other child wants to say, she was coming in my she was pushing my friend, so I told her this, whatever, so I pushed her or whatever. So the child gets into the sense of either protecting friends from the younger sibling, or the younger sibling from the friends. So it's like pseudo parenting. So if you can kind of say, you know what, here, it's all right, you can play your game, and I'm here to take care of the child, right? So if you can kind of put the expectation, and even if the 3 year old child has gone and taken some pencil of the older one, you say, oh no, this belongs to your, the other sibling. So I will take it away from you. You give it to the 6 years old, and then if you wish, you can take this. And with no an alternative yes, and you give something else which belongs to the child. So, and even to the older sibling, if you can say that if the 3 year old has taken it, then, and if you are not able to convince the child to give it, you can come to me. So, somewhere as a parent, Shri, whenever the child, especially the older sibling, could be coming to you very often to complain about the younger one. He or she, right? He did this, he did that, and all. And as a parent, we get urged that why cannot you handle your conflicts yourself? If we put that, don't bring your complaints to me, you have to handle it, the child may handle it then slowly, right? But the ways in which the child will handle it may be highly maladaptive for both the children. It could, in fact, introduce a certain bullying as well of the older sibling, of the younger sibling by the older one. So you got to step in wherever your 6 year old child comes to you. You can put a rule wherever you feel trouble, come to me, right? Just imagine when we are in trouble, when our neighbor troubles us, we have the police to go to, we have the manager, society managers to go to, right? Child also needs a safety. Whom do I go to? Just imagine if somebody tells, hey, you have to handle your conflicts yourself. How unsafe it will make us seem, right? So the child also needs that safety. So if you can, that I really hope will help. And also, unknowingly, we put competitiveness also in the sibling, right? Like who will finish the milk first. So that we use it as a motivation. But sometimes most of the time, in fact, it doesn't work as a motivation. It unnecessarily creates a rift between the two. In fact, even comparing, when you were 3 year old, you could not even do this child is so smart, relatives do it all the times, right? But if as a parent you validate it or you repeat it, it's going to affect both the children. Just imagine if your husband or your wife tells you, the neighbor's husband or wife is doing this, has gone started going to gym, or has bought a lovely car, whatever it is it really going to motivate to do this? On the contrary, you may start hating your neighbor for doing it. So sometimes our narrations can affect the beautiful relationship which the siblings can have. So comparison, sense of ownership, pseudo parenting, if you're kind of a little conscious about it, I'm sure, and some basic rule that, guys, no matter what is a conflict, we keep our hands in our pockets, right? So if you can have these kind of rules, when you're feeling high on emotions, you come to me to tell me, I'll help you, right? So if you can guide the child in that, I'm sure their sibling relationship, it will be much, much, much better, and that will help the overall environment of the family to be much more positive and connected. For your younger one, 3-year-old, 2 to 3-year-old is a beautiful time when the child realizes the power of no, and that no seems to become a response for everything. I'll do it myself. So I would always suggest, if you're not in a hurry, right, let your child finish the whole thing. For example, if the child says, I want to wear the socks myself, but the child is struggling. Sometimes when we see our younger child struggling as a parent, right, we want to step in to help. Yeah. I would suggest, if you have time, take a deep breath and just wait for the child to completely finish what the child is doing. Without, even if you notice that the child is doing it wrong, has picked up wrong set of socks, is doing it completely wrong, just wait, because problem solving, right, is not a skill which the child is going to learn by solving mathematics questions. It is a skill which the child is going to learn by real life, by solving age appropriate problems in real life. So don't be in a hurry. When you notice the child is visibly tensed, then also hold on to your hands. As I said, when parenting, keep your hands in your pockets and use your voice. So then also say, oh, you're finding it tough to put on your socks. I can see that. Wait till the child actually looks at you and asking for help, and then help in a positivity without saying the, oh, you could not do it. And even if the child did left shoes in right, I'm just taking examples because they really help to extend it in other situations. Even if the child has put left shoes in right, let the child finish it completely, stand up nicely, and praise the effort at least. Praising is an amazing thing for little ones. Even for anybody, right? We all love praises, positive reinforcement. You say, wow, you wore it so nicely. Now, you know what? This left shoes goes in right, and this right shoes goes in left. Can we do that, please? If the child starts getting confused, then you say, okay, so let me help you, lift you, and then you go nicely and swap it. What this means, Shri, is do not let the mistakes of your young child perturb you so much that you start telling the child, oh, you did it wrong. This is an age where the child, of course, would do things wrong, right? But then the child should be appreciated for the efforts that the child did, and then positively share that, okay, how do we correct it? Yeah. So I really hope, Shri, this helps you to take care of how to handle the no's and adamant, what you see in your 3-year-old child, as well as better connect between the siblings.
Yes, thank you so much, Kiran. So, to all our parents, if you've just joined in now, I encourage you to watch the entire video on this on Parentune application or on our Facebook page to understand how can we tackle and manage stubbornness in our child and backtalking. So, before we conclude, could you share the top three do's and don'ts to tackle aggressive and stubborn behavior in child, Kiran?
Top three do's.
And don'ts, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, top three do's, okay, is very interesting. And I would not keep it as age specific, though it is highly age specific. First thing is, the moment you hear that a pushback has come from a child in whatever ways, based on the age of the child, in older children, it will come through some kind of, using some kind of what they keep experimenting with stronger and stronger words that they see the world around using. Some children actually get into cuss words also. So it can come through that. In younger children, it can come through whys. Why should I do it? I don't want to do it. In yet younger children, it could just come by bodily stiffness in that. So whatever is the way, the moment you notice that a pushback has come, the biggest do is take a deep breath and tell yourself it is not an attack on you. Your child is learning. If you can tell yourself, because the moment you start saying, how dare my child say no to me? How dare my child use this language? My child is not learned respect. It is a possible, in fact, it becomes all the more if some relative was there and child did in front of the relative, then it becomes parenting in public. Then the shame and embarrassment also gets attached. What will people think about me now? So if we can at that time stop that train, which is self defeating in nature, because it's a child who needs to learn. It is not a reflection on you, on how good or bad parent you have been. Every child is going to experiment with strong words, is going to experiment with biting at least once in a day, once in life, at throwing things, banging door. At least a child is going to try at least once in their lifetime. And now, how long do they, rolling eyes, right? Or just plain vanilla ignoring you, pretending that the child didn't hear you. Every child is going to try that, right? These are interpersonal, and children are going to practice that. So if you can keep an eye on yourself and tell yourself, no, it is not an attack. I refuse to take it as an attack on myself. My child needs to learn. And I have to help the child to introspect, right? So if you can do that, self talk to yourself, it is difficult for you. So then take a break. You can always say, you know what? The way you rolled your eyes, I'm feeling very angry, so I'm going to take a break. I'll come back to you. And you take a break, go away, listen to some music with children. It is, you can, the second do is, if you find yourself in high on emotions, take a break. Be kind on yourself, right? Before you think of supporting your child, driving the life of your child, you got to understand that, am I in a state to drive right now? Am I too drunk in high emotions to drive? Take a break. Do things which makes you feel happy, brings peace in you, pleasure in you. In fact, the beauty about it, this taking a break, tell your child and take a break. Sometimes what happens is, as a parent, we just kind of stop, talking to the child. But then the child keeps saying, Mama, or Father, Papa, for that matter, please talk to me. What happened? We want the child to indirectly understand that, see, I'm so angry right now. I don't want to talk to you. Holding on to the love is what it is said. But it is not holding on the love. You are giving yourself some time. So tell the child accordingly. You can't blame the child for your anger, right? So tell the child, you know what, I'm feeling very angry right now. So I just want to be quiet for some time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I'll connect to you. And if the child, third thing is, if when you are in high emotions, taking a break, still if the child, because for a younger the child, harder it is for the child to see an angry parent, right? So if you are angry, you are the guardian of the child. You will still have to allow your child to hug you at that time. The child really still wants to feel safe even when you're angry. So while you are doing your own strategies, your child still has the right to hug you. You can't push away the child. It is too difficult for the child to then bring ways to support himself or herself. So these three things, right? Watch yourself, take a break, and allow your child to still be around you. I know it's difficult, but allow your child, because your child really needs to feel safe. And if the child sees you handling your high emotions, you become the model for the child. And tomorrow, when the child is having conflict with the friends and even with you, you will notice the child will start speaking the same thing which you told the child. That is, wait, mom, I'm feeling very angry. I'll take a break. How beautiful is that, right? So yeah, these are, if I had to say the to-dos, Nidhi. So these are the ones which I would say.
Thank you so much, Kiran. And